Generic American Host Mom here. Welcome back to part 5 of the Dear Host Family letter writing series. In this section, we will be talking about your hobbies and interests. Now remember, the purpose of this letter is to let us, your potential host family, evaluate whether you will fit in well, and in this section, whether you will fit in well with the type of hobbies and interests that we enjoy in our community. As with previous sections, be aware there are lots of different situations. There are no right or wrong answers here, just whether we think you will fit well into our community. In addition to your letter, there is usually a place in the background information of the general application to list your activities in which you have an interest. The letter is a good place to expand and discuss the level to which you enjoy the interests listed in your application. In general, it is a good idea to state an interest in different activities in the general application, and having an interest in a variety of things is good. You will make a connection with a family if you have common interests. So improve your odds by listing more interests. Indeed, your potential host family may filter their search to select students who have expressed an interest in some particular activity and won't even see your letter if you don't list the item in their filters. If you have a stronger interest in some activities over others, you can list them all in the application and then make sure your preference comes across in your letter. Don't try to write about an exhaustive list of activities you don't care about, because if you stated that you like it, you may get placed with a family that spends a lot of time doing something that you don't really care for. You may spend your evenings and weekends at practices and competitions where there are other things that you would much rather be doing. Try to give some indication of the level of your interest. For example, I like music and play the flute. I'm quite good and like to practice every day. Or, I really enjoy swimming. I don't swim competitively, but really enjoy spending time relaxing with my friends at the local pool. If you spend a lot of time on 2 or 3 activities, list those, and you will probably be placed with a family that enjoys at least one of them. If you enjoy doing a wide variety of things, make that clear as well, and you will be more likely to be placed with a family that does a lot of different things. If you like sports, make sure that comes across in your letter. If you don't like sports but prefer academic pursuits like debate or art, music, theater, painting, be sure to list those. You probably don't need to state, I don't like blah, 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 for this section unless you have a strong reason for not participating in some activity. An omission of interest is sufficient to convey your disinterest in it. An important consideration in this section is that it is easy for a seemingly positive comment to have a negative effect if you take your hobby very seriously. This is not because we are not interested, but because we would be concerned about our ability to support you. Something to consider and research is the popularity of your hobby in the United States and how dedicated you are to continuing with that hobby while on your exchange year. Then decide how best to present your hobby. This can work 2 ways. If your hobby is an intensive or competitive activity that is very popular in the United States, be aware that standards to be able to participate within school in the United States can be very high, with high demands on your time for practice and competitions. Many schools have dedicated class periods for practice, and sometimes these opportunities outside of school are limited for students not in those classes. There may be limited number of places for the school teams, and competition for them may be intense. So be honest. The following two statements sound quite similar, but could result in placements with very different families. Firstly, I like playing basketball. I'm really good and I want to try competing at the school. Versus, I like playing basketball. I find it a lot of fun and would like to continue to play and improve my skills. The first statement would be appealing to a family who already have kids in a basketball program at the school and possibly discouraging to a family more tied to theater, band, or the likes. The second statement is more likely to appeal to a family involved in a local recreation league. If you take your hobby very seriously and it is not universally available in the United States, this can also come across as a negative. If, for example, you love horse riding and write that you cannot imagine a week going by without being on a horse, then a family that doesn't know whether there are riding facilities nearby will probably pass on your letter, even if they are active in your other interests, but will connect with a family that rides regularly. Similarly, if you write that you would struggle to give up activities that are geographically limited, like hiking in the mountains, then you'll be geographically limited in your potential placements. Hobbies that are progressively less common have progressively more difficulty in finding a connection. For example, playing on the under 19 national cricket team is a very impressive accomplishment, but it is going to be difficult to find a situation where you can continue to follow that interest at the level you need. If you're willing to give up that interest for a year, make sure that comes across in your letter because most families will not want to be part of a process that forces you to reluctantly give up your main interest for an entire year. We are a music-oriented family. I filter for interest in music. Last year I passed on several young people who listed music as an interest because in their weekly schedule they did not list any practice time or playing their instrument, nor did they mention music at all in their letter. So I assumed their interest was passing at best. It turns out I passed on a classically trained singer who I would have loved to have joined me at choir in the evenings. But I didn't know because they didn't tell me about it in their letter. Also, remember to discuss any hobbies that you could share with your host family. Board game that is, or card games that are very common, or cricket, rugby, um, cooking. We are all about learning something new, so if you're willing to teach and share, it's a generally positive thing to include. And lastly, maybe give a thought to mentioning some things you have heard about and would like to try. My exchange kiddos have learned to read music, participated in school play, been on academic competition teams, uh, joined yearbook or newspaper. There are a lot of opportunities available in the United States, and do give some thought to telling me about what interests you. And as always, good luck.